Moving Dawn by Adrian Wood. Look, she said, break this down for me. You're telling me that, that I'm not me, mentally or physically? The problem with doctors she'd always found was that they had two opposing, incompatible views of non-doctors. First, they'd assumed that everyone around them was as well trained as they were, and would surely know some Latin term for an obscure treatment they'd come across in training, even though most people would have no reason to come across the fact. Then, they'd assume everyone around them was stupid for not knowing the term, and extrapolate that that meant they wouldn't be able to understand anything else either. There was no middle ground. But then, she didn't really deal with doctors in their normal, everyday lives. She only dealt with them when they found something wrong. You're just not human, mostly. Somewhere around 10% of the cells in your body, by number, are actually human cells with human DNA from your human parents. The rest is, like I said, bacteria, parasitic entities, dormant viruses, all kinds of things. Some of them just spend their lives in your body causing no harm. Others are generally docile but can cause illness later in life, and others are actually necessary. Without the bacteria that live in your stomach, you wouldn't be able to break down food and get nutrients and, live. He paused for a second, looking unsure how to continue. Okay, but this one's different. Yes. Have you heard of toxoplasmosis? The cat thing, right? He looked slightly disgusted. Yes, the cat thing. Some people get infected by a parasite, Toxoplasma Gondii. Millions, in fact. You don't only get it from cats, but that's irrelevant. It's widespread. We're talking double digits percentages of the population infected. You might have it, I might, whatever. It could cause a lot of, let's say, bad stuff. And recent studies suggest that it may have an effect on people's neurochemistry, altering people's behaviour in small ways, inhibiting some emotional responses, increasing risk of mental disorder. But apart from that, most people never show any symptoms. We've been working on a new treatment, broader than those usually used and more effective against parasites. And cheaper to develop, more effective. And you move forward onto human trials before gaining approval. Look, the patients were all considered terminal. They were all made aware of what was going on, and they all signed waivers. She pulled out some papers. It's a clear breach of the code. Look, it clearly states that I know the guidelines, and I know that our legal team is going to be working overtime on this, but I thought you wanted to focus on where we are now. She paused for a second and laid the papers down on the desk. Okay, go on. He took a drink of water, his hand shaking and spilling a little onto the paperwork, and continued. We weren't expecting to get a lot of... you've seen them. It's not brain damage, it's just stupidity. They remember things, but there's almost no reasoning, no puzzle solving, there's barely any linguistic skills or social awareness. It's like they're animals who can just about remember being people. So you tried a treatment before you tested it, it went wrong, and a lot of people's brains were damaged. He was shaking his head before she was halfway through the sentence. I just told you it wasn't brain damage, and the treatment didn't go wrong. It worked better than we'd hoped for. We just didn't know about Toxoplasma Obscurum. But you won't have heard of that before. Why? She asked. Because we didn't know about it until these patients. Gondii and Obscurum, the two variants, are practically distant cousins, but they have similar effects. When we treated the Gondii, we killed the Obscurum too, and that's when we found out that the studies were wrong. They were right that Gondii has an effect on brain chemistry, but it was wrong about the effect. It doesn't inhibit fear and anxiety, it heightens them. But that makes no sense, she said. Why would the studies show the wrong effect, and why would taking that away have such an effect on your patients? He took a moment before answering. Because Gondii is basically Obscurum's little brother, cousin, whatever. Gondii enhances our higher human mental traits, intelligence, emotional development, all kinds of higher order thinking. Obscurum just does it more and hides a lot better. But Gondii inhibits Obscurum, so when you're infected, it seems to lower mental stability slightly. Those people in my ward, they're baseline humans. That's what people are like without either parasite. She shook her head. You're not making any sense. If that's what an uninfected person is like, then why are they so unlike everyone else? Why are we sat here discussing and reasoning if we're not infected? You're not getting it, he said. Obscurum is a recent discovery, not a recent evolution. It's been with us for thousands of years, maybe millions. We are infected. Everyone is.